Hey, crypto traders, welcome to the weekly YouTube episode. Hey, what a week. We have 5-digit Bitcoin now with a strong run over 10,000. As you know, I was looking for it. I was not expecting our wave 4 to be as shallow as it was. It thwarted my best intentions to catch a lower price for sure, but we've broken out now in our 5th wave. So let's just recap where we're at, looking at our count. As you recall, we in Elliott Wave studying Elliott Wave's technicians want to see a very strong 5-wave move for the bear market. We want to see a lot of subdivision in the wave 3. That's got to be our more extended wave, and we do definitely have that. Now we've got the 5th wave, and in terms of targets, just real quick, I've got the fibs tied to the bottom of the 2, top of the 3, bottom of the 4, and what I know from a lot of study of Bitcoin wave 5s is they tend to at least hit the 618 extension, or 618 of the length of that 3rd wave, and right now that's 13091 on these fibs. Also, there's a level 13425 roughly, which is the 764 retrace of the entire bear market. That would be a nice, very even fib to hit in this move up. So anywhere in that region is ideal. That doesn't mean we get there. But in terms of if you want to nerd out, geek out on the fibs, those are key levels that we're looking at. So bottom line is, as we get this 5th wave, is that risk increases for a strong correction. You might find some Elliott Wave folks that count it maybe slightly differently, and certainly I'm looking for alternate counts myself. But right now, I have to say that there's this really strong indication that this is a 5th wave completion here. That means wave 2, which is generally the deepest wave, may ensue pretty soon here. And if you look at my levels, if we did top in that 13 region, I have an area anywhere from roughly 7.5 down to 4,245 on the bottom level. Ideal is 5,400. So that's what we're looking at. And we'll have to watch the structure of this wave 5 and see how it forms. Wave 2, and see how it forms, to figure out where that bottom may show up, and we have different methods for doing that in Elliott Wave. But that's what we're looking at. I mean, right now, I'm personally starting to cut back my leverage, going to go flat on just my position pretty soon here, probably with one more little micro high, and then I'll be watching out for an opportunity to perhaps hedge some of that off on the short side. I'm not going to spend more time trying to short this market because we don't know how deep this wave 2 is, but if setups come that may give some risk reward, I might take that. But in the meantime, it's just starting to take off risk as the first step. And we'll watch for extensions. We'll watch for this to hold some level of support and take off again, but that's not necessarily going to be expectation until that happens. I'm not going to call the top here. I'm not even going to call 13,000 the top until we see price action indicating that it has some downside momentum. That's very presumptive and early, but just have to say that the risk really increases in that level. All right, and let's we'll look at a few things. I mean, let's look at the weekly technicals. If we look at the weekly RSI, that I keep an eye on that. Let's see the move to that. When I look at that here, we still actually have some room. We may see a little bit of some growth this week as this RSI pushes, but we're at least getting into that resistance level typical for RSI, and this was the area where RSI typed through the very strong 2017. I don't think that we can go too much beyond this level before we see some sort of top. Now that said, the weekly MACD just looks absolutely great and no sign of slowing down. We'll go to the daily. I've got this on the 2-hour, but let's switch it real quick. In the daily, we see very similar that we have some room to go. This is our box. This is the area where we've seen previous corrections between the 90 and 80 region. We're just tapping 80. So there's no sign of bottom, and again, MACD has got some speed to it still. It's got some momentum going, so there's no indication of a top there yet. All right, so we're looking pretty good. Again, risk is increasing. Technicals are solid, but getting to that toppy region, so we'll see what happens. Another thing I want to indicate also is that I watch very closely the short interest on Bitfinex. These guys do a great job. They have done a great job of getting themselves in trouble this year. And if you look at, this is our strong April move, which was the 5th of our 3rd. You can see this circle here is a point where the shorts started to cover, run for the hills, and you can see that price in the red, which is the Bitcoin price, really accelerated when they started to come off. And we've only started to see a small indication that those shorts have started to come off and start to run. So we may start to see this come off strong. And of course, they're going to have to cover Bitfinex. They've got to cover with real Bitcoin. So we could see a potential price acceleration here. That's very different, I think, from BitMEX, where the traders are basically trading a derivative. All right, so that's something we're looking for. And the last thing I want to point out is if we look at GBTC, I don't know how many of you guys trade it, but I certainly may take advantage of it in my brokerage account. The problem with it is it has a premium over the Bitcoin thing it's contained, but as you see, we also are completing a strong 5-wave move off the February low in this one. It was a little bit lagging on the bottom. I don't necessarily recommend this as an asset because it's premium, but if you can manage it technically and deal with its liquidity issues carefully, it certainly gives some advantage in those brokerage and IRAs if you want to trade it. I'd certainly trade it to a certain degree. I think it's a potential that we had a top on Friday, but if we continue to see Bitcoin push, we can see this full count, which aims towards the $15 to $16 region. Wave 2 here can fall back if it did top in that 16 region, fall back as low as $5. And I have a run potentially even as high as 100 over time. So over the next degree, 5-wave move. So looking pretty good, and I just wanted to highlight that. That's another sign that we have this nice bull market with a stronger trend to go in the rest of 2019. All right, guys, that's all I want to share today. I hope you've got a great trading week. I hope also, though, that you at least recognize the FOMO we have going on, the risk we have in this market. Just be careful. Not calling a top yet, but I see this as a potential toppy area, so I'm cutting back a bit here. All right, guys, have a great week. We'll talk to you guys next time.